Hi everyone, welcome to CS128 Honors. I'm Quan Hao, one of the lead instructors for CS128 Honors this semester, and today I'll be going through Lecture 1, which is an introduction to Rust. So what we'll cover today, we'll cover an introduction to Rust and why we use the language. We will talk about the installation process, and I'll go through a demo of a Hello World program and some of the tools that you should need for the class. So an optional reading for today's lecture is the Rust book chapter 1 on getting started. So even though it writes that it's a Rust book, it's actually a free online book, and you can find the link in the Discord of the class. So firstly, what is Rust? Rust is described as a multi-paradigm language, and usually when we say paradigm for a programming language, we mean the type of a language. And computer scientists have classified different languages into different types based on the features that it has and the nature of the language. So Rust is mainly imperative, which means that you write code in a way that is similar to C and C++, in which every line of code kind of dictates what the program does. But also Rust supports features that are commonly found in functional languages as well as object-oriented languages. So we'll look at more of this throughout the class. So other than that, Rust is actually a general purpose language. It is primarily used for systems programming, which means programs that are written to facilitate the use of other software on the computer. So for example, writing an operating system, writing some device drivers, writing some networking, backend or applications. So these are general systems programming tasks, and Rust is very well suited for things like this. However, the misconception is that Rust can only be used for systems programming, and that is not true. Rust can also be used as a general purpose language. It can be used to make other command line applications or other just applications in general. It can be used to make websites, web servers, and things like that. And students in the past have done this for their final project. So why do we choose Rust for this class? Rust is a fairly new language that has gained a lot of popularity in recent years, seeing adoption in a lot of big companies such as Cloudflare, as well as being used in the Linux kernel. So Rust has some interesting features. I think which the most important is memory safety and thread safety. So Rust implements a new memory model called ownership. We'll learn more about this throughout the class, and it helps to prevent classic memory errors. So as you take 128, which is done in C++, you see that the memory management in C++ involves the programmer carefully allocating memory and then having to deallocate it to prevent memory errors. Rust handles this in a different way, as we'll see in the class. Beyond that, Rust also has very good support for thread safety, and the compiler helps you to catch common concurrency errors when you program multi-threaded applications. Beyond that, Rust also has good tooling, so it has very new documentation that is made to be easy to read and understandable for beginners. The Rust compiler actually gives very useful messages, even down to the level where it points out the exact spot in a line where it suggests that you should make a change in order for the program to compile. Furthermore, Rust has a tool called Cargo, which is an integrated package manager. It helps you to integrate all the different libraries you want to use for your program, and the build tool to help you compile the whole program into one executable. And because of all the good tooling, Rust is a productive language and it helps with development. So now I'm going to talk about the installation. I'm only going to give a brief overview here because everyone has different machines. For example, I run a Linux. So what I would do is similar to Mac OS, you will open a terminal and then you will type this command in, right? And for Windows, you will download and run the rustup init.exe, right? So you should go to this link and follow the instructions, and they'll have more details on the installation process for your machine. So note that these are the easiest ways, the ones I've written here, to install Rust. But of course there are other ways. For example, if you do not wish to run a shell script that you download from the internet, or if you don't want to run the executable that they provide. So what actually happens during the installation process, right? You're actually installing this tool called rustup. And rustup, according to the official documentation, is actually a two-chain multiplexer. So what does that even mean, right? So rustup actually helps you to install, it downloads from the internet, as well as manage your toolchain. So manage being helps you to set up updates, helps you to switch between multiple toolchains, right? So I keep saying the word toolchain, and here I'll explain what a toolchain is. right? And also more generally, like what it means when we say to install a language, right? When we say installing Rust or installing Python or installing Java. So what happens is that actually the toolchain is a set of tools to help you turn your project into an executable. So your project here is the source code that you write, and then you need to turn that into an executable that your machine can run, right? So for a language like Rust, which is compiled, similar to C and C++, there's a tool called the compiler. In Rust case, the compiler is called Rust C, and there's usually as a build tool as well that helps you to manage dependencies, combine the different libraries that you need in your project so that everything comes together as one executable. In Rust, this tool is called Cargo, and this is the tool that we will use the most throughout this class. It also includes other related softwares, such as a linter to help you format your code, documentation or documentation generators for your code. And we don't use this that much in this class, so I won't elaborate too much. So now I'll go to a demo of like creating and running a new Rust project. So here I have a Visual Studio Code open in an empty directory which I've created for this class. So now you can open a terminal, so I can view terminal, and then so take note that here I've already installed Rust, and you need to install Rust on your machine to be able to do the same steps that I'm doing now. So as I mentioned earlier, the main tool that we'll interface with is Cargo, and to create a new project you simply do cargo new and then a project name. So let me try to do Rust hello. So notice here that it creates a new directory called Rust hello, and this is your new Rust project, right? So there's a source code here, and it has one main.rs file, right? So this is the anatomy of a project in Rust, which is you have a main function, right? And here there's only one line, and it prints out hello world. So another two very important commands in Cargo that you should know for this class. The first one is cargo build. So cargo build compiles and builds the whole project and lets you know if there are any errors, right? So okay, in this case I did not change into the right directory, so let me cd into Rust hello, and then let's run cargo build, and you see that it compiles the project, and when it does finish, that means that this is working fine, right? And then you can also do cargo run. So cargo run, what it does is that it does cargo build, which builds the project, as well as executes the executable that is made, and you can see the output of the program. So here we have the building phase, and it prints out hello world, which is the project, the code that we have here, right? So this is the three main kind of commands that you need for Cargo. The first is cargo new to create a new project, cargo run, as well as cargo build. So there's another very important tool that you should install in Rust, right? And that is called Rust Analyzer. So in VS Code, you can go to extensions, and you can type Rust Analyzer. So you can see here that I already have the extension installed, and so the Rust Analyzer is actually Rust implementation of this thing called a language server protocol, which is a kind of software that helps you to do error checking on your code, does all the fancy things like auto completion, checking for errors, auto indentation, and things like that. So so I will demo what happens actually with Rust Analyzer. So first let me disable Rust Analyzer. Right, so let's say I write a simple program, right? Let a equals to 5, let b equals to 10, right? And I do a equals to 10, right? So this is a simple program that I write. Don't worry if you don't really know what it means, but this is without the analyzer enabled, right? And now let's go back to Rust Analyzer. Okay, and let's enable it. Right, now when we come back here, we see that for example, right, okay, now it's reloaded. We see that, for example, here when you do a declaration of a variable, Rust Analyzer shows you the type, right, which is an I32. This becomes very useful when you write more complex Rust programs, right, as well as errors. So for example, here it says that it cannot assign twice to immutable variable a, right, and this helps you to write your code and debug them faster. So make sure you install Rust Analyzer. You can use the same tool even if you're not using VS Code, such as if you're programming with Vim or Emacs or some other editor. So that was the end of the first lecture. Remember to do the onboarding form, which is in the link in the Discord in resources. And if you have trouble with installation on your machines, please come to office hours, and the time is also in Discord. So yeah, welcome to 128 Honors.